Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to move on to our next session. Our next session is a very important session. It's about building technology to serve Bharat. I would now like to acknowledge the organization powering this conversation for us, our session sponsor, YOTA. TiEcon Uttar Pradesh 2026 brings together leaders, all united by one goal, that is strengthening entrepreneurship and innovation in Uttar Pradesh and beyond. But innovation today runs on a structure, and that's where YOTA comes in. YOTA is one of the India's leading sovereign cloud and AI infrastructure providers at a time when Bharat's digital economy is expanding at unprecedented speed, from startups to emerging cities to AI-led enterprises. YOTA is building the backbone that makes it all possible. From hyperscale data centers to AI cloud platforms powered by the world's most advanced NVIDIA GPUs worth more than $3 billion, YOTA is enabling startups, enterprises, researchers, and governments to build, scale, and innovate securely, affordably, and entirely within India. Because building technology is to serve Bharat is not just about writing codes. It's about ensuring that the infrastructure behind that code is a world-class, scalable, and definitely quite crucial. YOTA's vision aligns perfectly with TiEcon's mission, which is to strengthen ecosystems, enable capital formation, and position cities like Kanpur as emerging innovation hubs. It's now time to request the presence of our speakers and moderator on the stage. May I now request Mr. Ashok Singh, Advisor UIAI, to kindly join us on the stage. Give him a big round of applause, everyone. May I request Mr. Singh from Exalt to kindly join us on the stage. Mr. Singh. Requesting Mr. Sajja Praveen Chowdary from Policy Bazar to please join us. Let's have a huge round of applause, everyone. Mr. Tamal from Razorpay. Heartiest welcome to you. And Mr. Damnish Kumar, a moderator from Hytech Pro. So as I already mentioned, that India's next wave of innovation is not just about scale, it's about inclusion. And this session focuses on building technology that solves the real problems for real people across Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities and the rural India. From Aadhaar to FinTech to Agritech to health and education, we will explore how technology are designing for accessibility, affordability, and impact, creating solutions that truly serve Bharat, not just urban India. May I request you to kindly take the seats, please? Huge round of applause, everybody.
It's always nice to be in Kanpur. Feel like home, and sorry to have this session between, I'm sure everyone is hungry and waiting for the lunch. We'll keep it very direct, we'll keep it very short. So thank you everyone for joining. I graduated in 2000 from IIT Kanpur, and if I see my journey from 2000, when I graduated, I was looking for the opportunities at that time. I saw that most of the companies were building for West. Most of the tech product or the services which existing at that time was building for either for US, for Europe, all those. We were solving the problem which we never experienced. Then come 2005, 2006, when the internet really penetrated, mobile devices started coming, then we see product companies coming from India, which was building for India, like Flipkart, Myntra, Zomato. They all came in just before 2010. And then in 2009 or 10, the India Stack was launched, right, Ashok, which created it in new India in terms of the transforming digitally how this product can be built in India. And today we see that we have around 800 million internet users in India. Out of that, around 57% comes from the tier 2, tier 3 cities for Bharat, which we call the Bharat. And this is increasing. And we expect that the next 100 million users are going to come from, the Bharat. So my first question to you, and please introduce yourself, and please give your journey, and please tell what it means to be, the Bharat means to you. So we'll start from Ashok sir. Ashok ji is retired IAS, has worked significantly on the India Stack. He was part of the UIAI. He was part of many other schemes which digitally transform India. Sir.
Yeah, thanks. So I think I do need to introduce myself for two reasons. One, I've been introduced and shown as, advisor with UIAI, and you might be wondering what that is. Even I'm wondering what that is. I think what's meant out here is UIDAI, which is the Unique Identification Authority of India, of which I happen to be a founding member, not an advisor. Coming to your question, which is, building for Bharat. I think right now I must clarify, I'm probably the first non-tech, non-finance person. I mean, I'm here as a public policy and public administration person. So you people may not really know, but the term Bharat versus India was first articulated by someone called Sharad Joshi. He was a farmers' leader in Maharashtra. He founded the Shetkari Sangathan. And what he defined Bharat was as rural, agriculture, and people who were exploited by the dominant system. India was urban, industrial, and people who benefited from the existing system, which was a continuation of the colonial system. Anyway, when we were on the drawing board doing Aadhaar, the two important things for us was speed and scale. And when we spoke of speed and scale, we were looking at what we are calling Bharat out here. We called it a ID for a billion project because a billion people had to be given an ID. It's now 1.35. And our starting point was the bottom of the barrel, which is how do we make sure that not one person will be told that we cannot make an Aadhaar for you. That was actually the fundamental premise on which we worked, and I think that was essential to scale it up. And that's the puzzle that we first solved before going to the field. How did you do it? We realized it has to be minimalist, simple, no complications. So when we were to collect data, it was only 4 mandatory fields: name, age, gender, address. There was a demand to do many other things. We said we're not going to do it. Biometrics, photograph, fingerprints, iris. But like Anuj was saying, the question we probed was, ke problem kya hai? And when we went to the field before designing Aadhaar, the problem was, ke I know my name, But if you're going to ask me to prove my name, मैं नहीं कर सकती हूँ. So we devised a way. One is 29 documents में से कोई सा भी पेश कर दो, और कोई भी नहीं पेश कर सकते हो तो एक रिलायबल इंट्रोड्यूसर कह सकता है ऑन रिकॉर्ड कि हाँ ये सीता है. सेकेंड वॉज एज. इंडिया में भारत के लोग जो थे उनके पास ये इशू था कि मैं अपनी एज नहीं जानता हूँ, डेट ऑफ बर्थ तो बिल्कुल नहीं जानता हूँ, और अप्रॉक्सीमेटली बता सकता हूँ. तो हमने शुरू में ही प्रोविज़न करा कि हम एज रिकॉर्ड करेंगे एज वेरीफाइड. अगर आप डॉक्यूमेंट दे रहे हो, आप डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं दे रहे हो, केवल ये कह रहे हो कि मैं 42 साल का हूँ, तो इट्स अ डिक्लेयर्ड एज. बट द आइडिया वॉज यू कैनॉट बी सेंट बैक टू से कि एज का प्रूफ नहीं है तो आधार नहीं मिलेगा. थर्ड वॉज जेंडर. वी वर द फर्स्ट टू इंट्रोड्यूस द थर्ड कैटेगरी विच इज़ ट्रांसजेंडर, बिकॉज इट डजंट रिक्वायर ग्रेट थॉट. मेल आएगा, फीमेल आएगा, पर ट्रांसजेंडर भी तो आएगा. सो वी प्रोवाइडेड फॉर इट. फोर्थ वॉज एड्रेस. नाउ प्रूफ ऑफ एड्रेस तो घर में बच्चे के पास भी नहीं होता है, हाउसवाइफ के पास भी नहीं होता है, और डेस्टिट्यूट्स के पास भी नहीं होता है. सो अगेन वी हैड दैट इंट्रोड्यूसर सिस्टम. हेड ऑफ द फैमिली कैन से मेरा बच्चा है, मेरी वाइफ है, एड्रेस मान लेंगे. NGO कैन से भिखारी है, ये स्ट्रीट चाइल्ड है, हम इसे जानते हैं, वी विल एक्सेप्ट इट. बट द आइडिया वॉज टू क्लोज ऑल द लूप्स. सिमिलरली द बायोमेट्रिक्स पार्ट ऑफ इट, फोटो तो सबकी खींच सकती है. फिंगरप्रिंट्स, व्हाट इफ मजदूर है, उसकी रिजेस रिकॉर्ड नहीं हो सकती, या किसी के एक फिंगर नहीं है या दोनों हाथ नहीं है. So we had an exception के in all these cases we will still take you into Aadhaar, and that is where we got iris. क्योंकि अंधा भी जो है उसकी iris ठीक होती है. But the long and short of it was looking at the exception, looking at the bottom of the barrel to get scale and speed.
Yeah, Neeraj.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Neeraj Singh. I'm co-founder of Zolz. Thank you for having me here. I think Sir covered most of the things that you need to think of when you are creating a DPI from a non-profit perspective, and India has, I think, done a great job in creating the identity and the payment stack. Where we are trying to add value is creating a financial services track that can penetrate deeper into the section. Largely what we have seen, the financial services are available only to 5 to 10% of the urban, largely only on the urban side, while the MSMEs are left, there's no credit available for them. So and there are largely two reasons for it. One is that there is a high risk when you give financial services to them. They are categorized as very high risk, so financial services don't reach to them. Second is that the banks have largely no incentive to serve them, right? So we are coming up and we are creating new financial models. We are taking first principles approach, lowering the risk for the banks, and also at the same time creating incentives for them to go and supply financial services, especially on the side of supply chain finance and trade finance, so that services can be penetrated deeper into the economic backward sections, and they can be enabled with more credit and the business can grow. So that's largely what we are trying to do.
Tamal worked with a lot of startups. Tamal, you may want to introduce yourself first, and then please define Bharat for us.
Sure. I'm Tamal. I am Damnish's junior at IIT Kanpur. This feels like home, right? IIT Kanpur specifically. I have been doing fintech for the last 20 years and worked in startups, MCheck and EasyTap, which was later acquired in 22 by Razorpay. And this was after 6 years that I did in Talisman and Oracle as a software developer. I completely changed my trajectory. I call it my first personal pivot, where I became a product manager, a solution specialist, did some amount of strategy as well in these two companies in payments domain. For the last 1 year, I took a second personal pivot where I quit my corporate job and started consulting in product and solutions with early stage startups, with folks that I know and have known for many years. Most of these startups are AI startups, so it's very interesting what AI is doing. And right now I'm also working with IIT Kanpur to set up a school of technology and society that our batch just in December at our 25th year reunion contributed 100 crore towards setting up.
So that was remarkable. Tamal batch, which is class of 2000 millennium, Tamal was able to pursue everyone to pitch for it, and they have raised 100 crores, which they are starting MSTS. Congratulations, Tamal, for that.
Thank you, thank you. I think let me take, for the longest my career has been in fintech and in payments, and let me take that kind of a lens when I'm looking at Bharat specifically and, building technology to serve this Bharat, right? And Damnish did touch upon some numbers, but let's talk about, we all know UPI. And what does UPI look what does it look like in Bharat, right? So today, 70% of all UPI transactions are essentially happening outside of tier 1 towns. So that's a, big stat, right? Also, as compared to the young urban population, which are adopting UPI for the first time, we have about 74% adopting in urban areas, right? But outside of urban, outside of tier 1 locations, that's almost 87%, right? So there is a big acceptance of UPI. However, when you look at the population and talk about, what percentage of population would essentially say UPI is a preferred payment method, right? In urban India, that's about 80% plus, right? Whereas in rural India, it's below 40%. Somewhere the numbers talk about 38, so let's assume 40%, so almost half, right? And that presents, tremendous opportunity in Bharat to bring a lot more digitization in payments, reduce significant cash spends, etc. Right? Let's look at, say, for example, e-commerce. Right? Today, 60% of e-commerce essentially is happening from outside of tier 1 towns. Right? 60% of new online shoppers are outside of tier 1. Right? The CAGR growth of shoppers in urban India is about 15%, and these are new shoppers, right? Whereas in Bharat, that's about 22%. So that presents another significant opportunity. A lot of e-commerce is happening there, and when I look at a payments lens, it presents a natural opportunity. Customers coming on board UPI, e-commerce spreading in big ways. So, I think we have a bright future to look forward to.
Yep, thank you. Sajja, who is working with the Policy Bazar, is the head director and the head for Policy Bazar business. Sajja, you have been working with both the things, India and Bharat. I think your perspective and how Policy Bazar is building for Bharat would be good to hear. So please define Bharat for us.
Thank you, Damnish. Hi everyone, myself Sajja, and most of my career out of probably 18 years, I've spent 15 years at Policy Bazar, scaling up different lines of business, motor and then life, and for the last 3.5 years we've been trying to work with corporates and SMEs on both sides, as Damnish said, both with corporate India as well as Bharat, to try and scale up what the organizations need from an insurance perspective. So for us, from a Bharat Bharat perspective, I think Damnish, it has come up naturally after a point of time, because when we started initially, and there was a time when 80% of our consumers or 90% of our consumers used to be from metros itself, and there's not much traffic beyond that in terms of who's buying insurance, and especially when you say insurance, protection products is what we focus on, right? Unlike earlier when insurance meant only investment products or life insurance products, term insurance, health insurance, or actual protection was never given a importance as such. That's what we focused on, and over a period of time, I think with the way we could reach out, today I would say there about 60% is what traffic which we get from outside of the metros, or at least the main cities. So, and now what that meant is that the models which worked for you when you work with consumers in the metros wouldn't work with you when kind of try to work with the consumers in Bharat. So automatically when your leads or the top of the funnel start to change in proportion between metros and say Bharat, if you start to use the same principles, or if you start to look at from the same lens, your conversion rates would drop, and automatically, which means your revenue is going to go down despite you trying to. So obviously your business model has to change, and obviously always we've tried to look at, one good thing is at least we've seen it from a consumer perspective as what the consumer is saying, and that has navigated us throughout, and that's one of the reasons why we are here today in terms of where we are. And that's the same thing which we did for Bharat. So especially if you look at probably on the retail side, I would say individual consumer who's trying to buy, obviously the ones who are in metros or in the cities, there's a bit of, I think with Flipkart, Amazon, and other e-commerce companies coming up, the online payments, and there's a lot of trust that's got built up over a period of time, that paying online does not mean your money will go somewhere, which means you could trust an online website, and you could pay, you can buy from them, speak to them, and all of that. But Bharat is still a bit behind from there, right? So that's where we kind of expanded to today. Probably we have on ground people about 500 odd locations across country, where it's not only it's a, I would say, phygital model kind of a thing, where you have people who are speaking, who are presenting on over an online call to the consumer who's even present in Bharat. But then when the transaction needs to get concluded, depending on whether the consumer is interested, and then what do they need. So that's one model that we have kind of used, and that worked very well. I would say wonderful, especially post-COVID in terms of scaling up. Otherwise, I think that entire thing of ensuring that your conversions are good or stay up has been a bit difficult. Similarly, the other model which worked out very clearly is, we would say, a PB partner model, which we have again under Policy Bazar, where we also partner with agents or individual agents or people on the ground who would be working with again consumers on the ground who would ideally not be coming online. And most of it, I would say today, the transactions, about 50% or 60% of it again comes from Bharat there. But lack of people, individual people that the company works with today, these are young entrepreneurs or mid-aged entrepreneurs primarily, not the old age ones, but those who are in say towns and say some in villages, and who have found this idea that if they had an option to kind of offer insurance from say 10 companies through a platform which you are able to use, you have to understand how to use the system, you have to understand how to use an app. The consumer need not use it. So using that, if you're able to kind of do that, right? Because again, obviously the agency system has been there for a while, but then if you go to the customer with an option of one product or only one insurance company, obviously the consumer also might not like, right? Everyone has their own tastes and varieties, so you might not want that. So from that perspective, we've been able to kind of build PB partners, and that's the other thing that worked out very well for us in Bharat. And that's how we've been kind of over a period of time looking at what is the consumer saying, or how can we kind of tweak our model a bit to kind of ensure that these stay relevant to the audience in Bharat.
Yeah, thank you. So what I see is everyone is saying that there is an technology adoption which has happened in Bharat. My next question is, sir, you have implemented direct benefit transfers and a lot of things on top of the UIAI. What was the challenges when you were implementing them? Once that the designing and everything has been done, from a private business perspective and the company perspective, I see that most of the companies right now, like Sajja said, they offer the product first to the India, first to the metro cities, and then they try to extend it to the Bharat, do some experiment there, and but I've not seen companies which is directly launching it for Bharat. So there is always some. First is they capture the market in metro cities and then go to the. So I want, let's hear the challenges first from you, sir, and then from all of you, that what challenges you see in scaling it to the Bharat.
So I think, my colleagues will talk about products and services. As a civil servant, we design or we should be designing public systems.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge. I do believe that, what is holding India back is poor public systems. And when we were designing Aadhaar, what we were told and we were very clear was, there are two ways to go about it. It's true for products also. One is, you take what is called an inside-out approach, which in public systems is you design a public system in terms of the convenience of the government. It should be compliant with rules, regulations, procedures, and 99.9% of Indian public systems are designed like that, and the result is the citizen is perpetually at a challenge to interface with the government. In the UIAI, what we did was, our design approach was from outside in, which means Aadhaar was visualized from the perspective of a resident who's going to come and enroll, a resident who's going to use these services. That is how you designed Aadhaar, and I think that is what led to its success. And we haven't learned much from the success of Aadhaar in designing public systems, because we don't have examples of outside-in designed public systems on any scale, or they're escalating, and we continue to have interfaces and public systems which are designed and built from the government's limited perspective. I think it was a challenge that we overcame, but it's a challenge which both Bharat and India continue to face.
Thank you. Neeraj, your perspective.
We face largely different challenges, because what we are trying to build is a financial infrastructure for, the Bharat. And our challenges are largely regulatory. Although the regulator is supportive of the new business models that we are coming up, because we work a lot with blockchain and tokenization in our business models. But the gestation period of getting into a regulatory sandbox, having your, banking partners on board, getting to tier 2, tier 3 sectors, and then to commercialization, it takes 2 to 3 years. Right, so that challenge for an early stage startup is, very huge, especially if you are bootstrapped and you have not raised funds, right? On the other side, when it comes to adoption, I see challenge, because usually when you speak to the even the SMEs who are in metro cities, right, they are a little bit more tech savvy, and they are, they are okay to adopt if there is something new coming up. But as soon as you step out of tier 1 cities and you start talking to those SMEs, you realize that they don't understand technology, and they also don't want to understand technology. What they want to know is whether I'm getting credit or not, right? What am I saving? What am I losing? Time is most important for them. So making them understand, and also language plays a very crucial part here. So how can you have a multilingual system with a very simplistic interface, like Sir mentioned, which can be seamless and help SMEs adopt something new that is coming to them, is another challenge that I see.
But do you see, specifically for you, because you're in fintech lending side of it, do you see some differences what as a product or service that you're offering as an urban and rural side? Is there some pattern difference?
No, definitely. See, all the financial products, especially if you look at the supply chain financing side, we have largely only 4 regulated structures, right? SID, PID, factoring, reverse factoring. All of them are designed to serve only for the suppliers of a very large corporate. As soon as you start going down the supply chain, those models don't work. So we had to come up with a new supply chain financing model where you can leverage the credibility of a large anchor but still supply deeper into the supply credit deeper into the supply chain. That's why we have to go through all those regulatory sandboxes to get the models approved. And you have to think from a perspective that the current models are not working. That's why you are seeing that gap. So you have to go back to the first principles, go back to your drawing board and see what models can evolve, what is happening outside. You have to take those inspirations and build new models.
Tamal, same. What are the challenges do you see when you talk to the startups, assess them, urban versus the new Bharat?
Yeah, I think mostly in the payment space and fintech, one of the biggest challenges, and I'm a little confused whether it's a challenge or it's an opportunity or it's just the lay of the land, is that from a product thinking point of view for Bharat, you have to think in constraints and design for constraints that are extremely real, right? Irregular incomes, not reliable bandwidth, internet bandwidths, even on mobile phones, right? Vernacular support, and really vernacular first, right? Voice-based interaction on your application, etc., right? And these are extremely real, while, and designing for Bharat, designing products for Bharat will need to solve for some of these, right? And another constraint which is very real is, and this is where I'm coming back to, that UPI is not one of the first preferred payment methods, is there's a high touch expectation in Bharat, right? There is still a fair amount of branch banking that is prevalent there. So a model where you have a phygital offering, right? You might have, say, for example, digital onboarding, right? But you still have a human service element, right? Whether in collections for lending, right? Or, in sachet financial products, right? Whether it be micro credit or micro insurance or micro savings, right? So all of this is extremely important, and Phygital has actually been deployed by, AU Small Finance Bank in Rajasthan, by NABARD Small Finance Bank, and some of these pilots and deployments have been extremely successful, right? So while yes, there are challenges at an infrastructure level, there are opportunities as well. And one of the points which is, I think, deeply contentious in the payment space is this whole concept of zero merchant fees, zero MDR, right? Now, while
I was about to ask that, the UPI is 10 billion transaction in a month, huge, but there's no cost to the companies. Like you worked with Razorpay earlier. Razorpay is not earning anything from it. If I see so how do you see that for India and for Bharat? For India, the Razorpay may be able to earn by offering other things.
Zero MDR has been extremely good, right? To give a significant push to payments digitization in India, right? UPI, I believe, would not have scaled the way it is without zero MDR, right? So it's a wonderful thing, but it's not all great as well, right? I mean, you have to peel the onion to kind of figure out some of these things, right? In India, zero MDR can be just a cost to acquire, right, a customer on your platform, right? And then cross-sell other products, right? What, say, the phone pays or the Paytms or the Google Pays of the world do, right? But when you go to Bharat, right, your ability to cross-sell significantly reduces, and hence it starts to become challenging for, fintechs to essentially invest in the infrastructure that is required to, fund all these payments at zero MDR, right? So, that's a significant challenge in my opinion. Hopefully I know the government and the regulator has basically said zero MDR continues. We'll see. We hope for the best.
Right. Sajja, same. Policy Bazar has been all over. You guys have been growing very, very fast. What pattern do you see and the challenges when you offer those services to Bharat versus to India?
So I think, there's obviously a universal problem that we have with insurance, right? That only deepens as you move towards Bharat, generally, which has changed, at least I would say, in the cities to an extent, which is basically everyone feels that we are next to God and nothing is going to happen to us. I think culturally that's how the entire country and people believe in. And it only deepens. The belief deepens when you go to the rural parts and beyond the metros, that they still firmly believe that nothing would happen to them, and there's a lot of system to take care of stuff. That's one thing, and that clearly also somewhere resonates with the part between a belief or nothing is going to happen, plus what Neeraj just said about the SMEs in those spaces not wanting to spend time on any of these things, right? So especially when we try to work with some of these SMEs beyond the urban areas in Bharat, that's one area where we see adoption of insurance or kind of to take care of anything that might happen with their business assets. That's one thing which we clearly see. And then at the same time, what we also see is clearly when an incident happens, then obviously people would want to kind of come back and say, can something be done right now? That's a conundrum still, which is starkly different, I would say, which has improved slightly better off in cities, but unfortunately it still remains a bit of a challenge in the areas beyond.
So I'll just change the question now. So challenges, there are a lot of challenges. And like Tamal said that he's confused whether that's a challenge or an opportunity. So entrepreneurs always see that as an opportunity. So just to reword the question, what opportunity do you see in Bharat from an solving perspective and from an monetization perspective? Maybe question is for all three of you, or sir, you want to pick it? Yeah, very quickly, 30 seconds for each.
I think let the others take the monetization.
Yeah, Neeraj, sure.
Yeah, see, it's for a startup, or I think even for Policy Bazar and Razorpay, for us money is always important, otherwise our survivability is in question. And that's why I was stressing from the beginning that we have to rethink the business models. As sir mentioned, that the business models that were created, right, they were thought from tier 1 or town perspective, and then there were efforts to just extend them to tier 2 where you cannot make money because the consumer behavior is very different, right? They don't want to spend time on that, and nobody in tier 2 wants to pay for convenience. Although with consumerism penetrating deeper into those markets, that will come, but that is still a long way to go. So we have to rethink the models, and that's where the opportunity is. If you can create such models, you can monetize.
Tamal, quick 30, maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah, the next $100 billion in e-commerce is going to happen from Bharat. The next 400 million customers, and I'm not saying users, customers, are going to happen from Bharat. Clearly, that's the opportunity that I believe every entrepreneur should be looking at.
Sajja, you echo that, or you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that point I definitely agree. So that's one of the reasons why we've been trying to tweak models to kind of figure out what's the right fitment on Bharat side, right? So we clearly see certain things. At least again, when I say tweaking up, for example, working with insurers in terms of getting to some products which we've launched in the recent months, where we say at times when you look at health insurance, people say I would go to the regular government hospital. How does health insurance help? It's not going to help, right? So what we started now saying is, okay, if you were to use this, you can use it. But let's say if you go to the government hospital at that point of time, it works like a hospi cash, then which means you get automatically 2,000 rupees per day. Now that becomes cash for you, and which you can utilize for taking care of stuff at home or whatever it is, right? And similarly, what we also see is, let's assume for those let's assume in cities, second opinion might not be really too much of a problem, right? They might be able to approach different doctors if, let's assume, some surgeries to happen. But for those who are probably beyond the cities, if you're able to get them a second opinion from a doctor in the city, that's a kind of thing which we're trying to combine along with, say, insurance, which can add as a value add.
Great. So I'll just summarize that we see that Bharat has adopted the technology. They've been front runner in adopting the technology. Right now, the focus for people is more on viewing the video. Video viewership has been significantly changed. Now, for the startup, for the ecosystem has to come with the tweaked business model, as you guys see, to get the great business out of that. So thank you, everyone. So, yeah, you would like to summarize something, sir?
No, I don't want to summarize, but I had, let pass that monetization question to my colleagues first. So I think if India and Bharat have to monetize the great opportunity before us, two things have to be done, and we are not looking at either of these two. And they will decide whether India will be a middle-income country or it will be a high-income country. The first one is, the biggest problem for Bharat and India is government, public systems. Unless you sort them out, economists, entrepreneurs can't do much. At best, you will take us to a middle-income country and we will stop there. The second thing is, we have to invest in citizenship and citizenry, which is our human resources. If you don't do that, you're going to do nothing. And at the expense of taking a minute, I'll give an example. You build excellent expressways, as this state is doing. But what happens? You reach a toll and you'll invariably be stuck in a queue because there is someone who doesn't have a FASTag or doesn't have money in the FASTag. You cross that thing, the way we use it is, nobody knows the left lane is service lane, the right lane is overtaking lane. People just don't know it. They haven't been taught. So the result is, you don't get the speed and the safety that that this should apply to. This is, I'm just saying this is happening to India and Bharat across.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everything that we are doing. The third part is, we'll take the example of the police. On a highway or on a road, what will they do? They will stand, 4 of them, perpendicular to a red light. Left turn is supposed to be free, but it's not.
Yeah.
The moment you turn, they ambush the citizen. If they were standing in front, compliance would come. But what we prefer to do is ambush the citizen.
I'm sure the new generation is going to change that. On that note, I think the time is over. People are waiting for the lunch. We close the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. May I now request Mr. Gopal Sootwala to please join us on the stage and felicitate the moderator and the panelists. Requesting sir to kindly felicitate Mr. Ashok Pal Singh, Advisor UIAI. Let's have a big round of applause, everyone. I'd like to request sir to please felicitate Mr. Neeraj Singh, Exalts. May I request you, sir, to please felicitate Mr. Sajja Praveen Chowdary from Policy Bazar. Requesting, sir, to please felicitate Mr. Tamal Das from Razorpay. Last but not the least, our moderator of the session, Mr. Damnish Kumar. Let's have a group picture now. Sir, with you. Thank you so much.